Today I'm here with Glenda Evans. She's a dear friend of mine. I've known Glenda for almost 20 years now, I think. I was trying to think back to when we first met.
Wow. Yes, I'm Glenda and my husband Steve, and I grew up in Africa. My parents were missionaries. I met Steve at Bible College, and he was from San Francisco, California. And he had a heart to do something for the Lord. He never, ever imagined it was going to be in Africa until he met me. And God began to so he actually interned in Africa before we got married. And that really did it. And that's what I tell anyone that wants to do something around the world, just go on a short-term missions trip. And get a glimpse, because like in Africa, once you get a glimpse of it, it goes into your heart.
Yeah.
And it changes you forever.
It does.
So that's what happened. It changed us. It changed him. And we went. So we thought we were just going to go and help start churches, which is a very noble thing to do. That's what we were going there to do. And we were in a hotel still. We hadn't even moved into our rented house in Zimbabwe. And we led the waiter to the Lord at the hotel.
Wow.
And he was so excited that he wanted us to meet his family. He wanted us to come out to his village. So we were working with the local pastors. So Steve asked the local pastor, because they sometimes need our transportation, but then we need to know how to get to places. So they know how to get to places, and they need our transportation in a vehicle, which we can help. So the pastor said, sure, I know that area. And if he didn't know it, they know how to speak their languages and get directions from someone. There's no GPS, Google Maps out there and all that stuff. Anyway, so the day that we were going, I wanted to, as a woman, you're always thinking about, I need to take candy for the children. I need to take maybe potato chips. The kids would probably love to have some cookies or something. So I'm thinking about all these little cute little snack things I would take with us. And we were going to go, and we were going to share with this village what had happened to their relative from the village, and we were going to have a chance to start a church. So I turned to this waiter. And he wasn't working that day. He was going with us. And I said, what can I bring? Your family, your cousins or your nephews and nieces, whoever's out there. And I said, can I do candy and can I do sweets? They call them sweets. So that's, and potato chips and cookies. And he just looked at me. Or I said, even bread. And he looked at me, and he was so real. He said, my people need water. Can you bring them water? And it just touched our hearts, because we didn't know how to do water. We weren't trained on how to do water. We didn't know how to do this. So on the way down there, Steve stopped at a place, the last gas station, we call them fuel stations, to see if they could have a drum or something we can put on the edge or the top of the car or somehow. And so the man said, yes, but you have to bring it back. And he said, well, I'm just going down the road another hour, and then I'm coming back here. If you can give me something, I can put some water in, then we'll take it. So they put as much of this water and containers in the car as we could get. And we went to this village. So as we got there, the waiter, he jumped out, and they knew he was coming, but he jumped out, and they were all kind of coming over there. And, in Africa, you gather under a tree, and then you talk, and then they can make you some hot tea, but you gather under a tree, and sometimes you bring little wooden stools and stuff. So they were gathering, and he said, no, he says, yes. He says, go get your buckets. Everyone go get buckets. We brought you water. So they all went back to their huts, and they came back with buckets. And I don't remember how many, but they came back with the buckets. And they all got a little bit of water from whatever water we had in our car, which was not a lot. I think each household got a bucket. So maybe 12 households in a little village or family unit. And they took it back to their houses, and then they came back and sat down, and Steve explained about the love of God. And that day we realized that not only can we bring them the love of God, but we can also bring them the love of something that they need. Now that bucket of water didn't go very far, but it let those people know that we cared for their souls, and we cared for their physical needs as well.
Yes.
So we fell into water.
Wow.
Doing water, and then we began to figure out how can we drill and water. And so now in Africa, with other missionaries helping us with the Sins of God, we have drilled over 700 wells in 20, and we're doing it in these villages where the pastors are farmers. They're farmers, and then they're pastors. And just recently we got 2 done before Easter. And so we're drilling wells, and we're helping them start churches so they can minister to the souls. We don't only the physical, but we like to minister to the souls and bring peace to the souls. And we're there, and these pastors, their Bibles are all torn up. They've got pages missing from their Bibles. They're farmers. They're not pastors. They've never been trained.
Right.
And so now they've said we need more training.
Yeah.
So now we're working on one of the places where we drilled a well, and the church has exploded. I mean, they need a bigger building from just a place that only seats 70 people.
Yeah.
So now we're helping them to build a bigger building so that the small building can be used where we can train these farmers.
Wow.
And we're training the women, helping them to know how to preach and how to understand the Bible so they can give answers to their people.
Yes.
The whole thing is bring answers to their people and bring peace to their people. Let me tell you, the inflation, a box of cereal, Special K, is $17 a month.
Wow.
So you don't buy cereal.
No. Yeah.
Hunger is crazy. Just the luxury items are just very expensive. No one buys them, so we just eat the local food. I have chickens in my backyard that we there, and we grow vegetables.
Yeah.
We just live on the land. So,
That's
but
so
anyway,
wonderful.
so these women are getting trained now on how to raise the chickens, how to do the crops easier. I wrote it down here. I'm not training them in them, but I found ladies that can say, "This is what I'm doing, so
Yes.
this is what you can do."
Yes.
They're making baskets that they can sell. They're making candles. They all need candles. No one has electricity.
Wow.
So instead of buying the candles, we're getting women to help teach other women how to make candles, how to make dish soap.
Yes.
They're making dish soap and selling it, but in the local markets to have a little bit of extra money so they can help their families.
Yes.
So anyway, we're doing this. We're in our last season, and we ask people to pray for us that we will stay strong.
Yes.
For a little longer.
Yes. That's so wonderful.
My husband and I started 42 years ago.
42 years ago.
I grew up there in South Africa, and I was born there. I was born there and I grew up there. And my grandparents were also missionaries. So my grandfather actually came to Africa 100 years ago.
Wow.
It was actually 1921. And then my grandma came in 1923, and then they got married.
Amazing.
So they came out single. So my grandma's she's my hero because she went to the mission field single.
Wow.
Without that's my story there. Where I was describing where we're drilling the wells and helping them start their churches, wherever we go, and I think I sent you some pictures, Melissa, but the kids, they're everywhere. They're barefoot. They it's interesting. The little girls always want to wear dresses, even though they're barefoot and they're playing on rocks. They will wear the prettiest little bright yellow and bright orange, and it's so beautiful on their skin. I just think their skin, all the bright colors look so much better on them than on me,
Yeah.
But and if they can, they like to braid their hair a little bit and put little little beads in their hair. It is just the cutest thing. So they're just running around, and we drilled one well recently, and I like to just see who comes by because we make a lot of noise. So we're making all this noise with this great big drilling truck, and it's just making this pounding noise into the ground for like hours and hours and hours. And we're right on the side of the road there, and the main dirt road in that area. And so everybody's passing by. So the donkeys pass by, and the mothers pass by with buckets on their heads, or they're carrying their cornmeal, 50-pound sack of cornmeal on their head to go home with. Sometimes they'll walk by with their bottle of oil on their head.
Wow.
Or a Coke bottle on their head. It's just, why carry it when they can put it on their heads, because
Yeah.
it's easier than they're
Yes.
free to hold it. So
Wow.
it just makes sense in their heads. But in that also, the kids come by, and I've seen the kids come by pushing their little wire cars they make. If they can find a piece of wire, the boys will make these little cars, and then they put a little long wire that comes up, and they make a steering wheel, and they're just pushing their little wire car down the road, and they're stopping and look at the drilling. And one little guy, he was pushing a tire, because that's a fun thing for the little boys to do. They push a tire, like a bicycle tire, down, and they try to see if they can balance it, and they'll go for miles balancing this tire that they're pushing.
Yes.
With
Wow.
it's art to it.
Yeah.
And so these kids are watching that, and my heart is being that while we're trying to reach their communities with water and teach their parents how to grow crops better, I just want to do something with these children, just to love on them. So we're trying to have kids camps, and they're not anything fancy. Let me tell you, they're sleeping on the floor of the church, and unless we've drilled a well, they're taking baths in the little streams. They're just going down to the streams and jumping in, and for them it's kind of like going swimming, but that's how they're getting cleaned up, and it's cleanup time. Everybody go to the river, and then come back, and then they play some games, or it's time to eat. And then we're cooking for them out on the open fire. So it's very, very simple here. But the kids come, and they get to know that people love them, and then we get to share the love of God. And the coolest thing is, years ago, I started a Sunday school in the church we were helping to plant, and I taught the Sunday school, and these kids are in it. Well, now that we've come back, the pastor's wife at this church it's like our main church, she was in my Sunday school class.
Wow.
And these young ladies, as teenagers, they were in my Sunday school class, and now they're grandmas.
Wow.
And so they're helping me to plan the kids camp.
Wow.
The one's name is Anna, and the other one, her name is Hope. And for me, it's like, whatever you do in life, if you can be faithful, we are seeing fruit now. These ladies now that God gave me the privilege of teaching Bible stories to, are now in the church, and they're helping me plan the kids. And the cool thing is, in the whole little village, you're talking about maybe 300-400 people in a village. They each got their little huts and stuff. They all come to the church for water now, rather than going to find it at the stream, and then it's dried up, and then they have to walk further to another stream or dig in the sand. They come to the church.
Yes.
So the church is there to just love on them.
That's beautiful.
Have activities. So now these churches are going to have kids camps.
That's so beautiful.
So they can love on the kids.
That's so wonderful.
Just bring them a little bit of joy to these kids' lives.
Wow.